She wants to link Eric getting the drugs and pills from Mexico, so we need some kind of connection. Her private investigator is doing some research on the ranch cartel place Eric would stay at. Here's what I'm thinking, but you have to talk to Ronney. He would probably have to testify to this, but it's super short, not a lot to it. He will need to talk to Skye at the meeting next week. Upon information and belief, just like they say, a year prior to Eric's death, Ronney was over watching football one Sunday, and Eric and Ronney were chatting about Eric's Mexico trips. Eric told Ronney he gets pain pills and fentanyl from Mexico from the workers on the ranch, but not to tell me, because I would get mad, because I always said he just gets high every night and won't help take care of kids. Ronney should have texts from Eric talking about getting high as well. Eric told Ronney he keeps them in an allergy pill bottle in his work truck so I wouldn't find them. Ronney never told me about the conversation. Eric finally told me and asked if Carmen could get him some. Eric never wanted anyone to know he had an issue, especially get caught. He always wanted Kouri to go down for him. Reword this however he needs to make the point just to include it all. The connection has to be made with Mexico and the drugs. Ronney will have the messages to prove Eric confided in him about getting high. He can be short and to the point, but it has to be done. When you talk to Ronney about this, meet up with him in person. I worry sometimes your house and phone are bugged. Tell him I need him to do this. Bring me home, and then we will get those damn bitches. We're so close to the end. Let's push through. Have the conversation with Ronney before he meets with Skye. Then tell him to tell Skye at the meeting about the conversation. Hang in there. We're almost there. Love you to the moon.
The infamous walk the dog letter, allegedly written by Kouri Richins while behind bars, charged with the murder of her husband, Eric. She has a big hearing coming up November 3rd. Meanwhile, Kouri and her husband had 3 children together. They were married, they had money. But she had her own little realty business and he had a successful business. Her business not so successful. And prosecutors say she wanted all of his money to fund her real estate flipping business. She's accused of poisoning him in March of 2022, 5 times the lethal dose of fentanyl placed in his Moscow mule that she prepared for him. Now that letter, that walk the dog letter, some legal papers were filed and she said, no, that wasn't a letter trying to get my brother to lie for me on the witness stand. No, that was part of my new novel that I'm writing behind bars. How about that? So the same day that the legal papers are filed, there's a phone call between Kouri Richins and her brother, Ronney, about this walk the dog letter. Take a look, because we have the transcript. And Ronney says, like, what the heck are they disciplining you for? And Kouri says, and then I'm on 30 days of lockdown, 23 hours a day, no commissary. Ronney, the brother, for what? Like, they have to give you a reason, Kouri, for the paperwork. That's what they're saying, for my paperwork that they illegally found, which I wasn't hiding. It's a 65-page novel. They read the whole thing, and on the front of the novel, this is the worst part, on the front of the book, it literally says, these are true events that have happened in my life, but the statements, the events, and the way it all plays out have been falsified for a fiction novel. It's called To Heck and Back. None of this can be used against me. This is only a book. That's why I'm telling you this is insane. There was never a letter. There was never a letter in the book in an envelope. This was never a letter. Like, what the bleep are you talking about? Ronney, they're trying to bleep her entire trial to taint the darn jury. Kouri, then her brother. And it's obvious that's what they're doing. Kouri, right. Because, Ronney says, because they're that desperate. It is unbelievable. All right. Let's bring back in our think tank. Al Wunsch, Darnell Crossland, and Lori Murray with us. Darnell, Al said he was walking off if we didn't get you back, so I'm glad we got you back.
I like that, Al.
Yeah. So
I was gone.
Darnell, I'm looking at this. Like, what do they know it's being recorded, right? The phone call. Is this, I'm reading this like it's almost, I can almost smell the bad acting in this phone call.
Exactly. So they know the phone calls are recorded, and it sounds like this is just a play to kind of cover up from the walk the dog letter, and it's not working. When I read the walk the dog letter and I heard the phone call, I said they're just making things worse. They're going downhill fast.
So, Lori, when you think about Kouri Richins, now she does have one book already written. It was a children's book about grieving. We did speak with the ghostwriter who actually wrote the book, by the way. What are your thoughts? Do you think the judge or the jury will believe that this letter directing her brother to provide some very useful testimony, someone's going to believe it was just part of a novel?
I think she's going to be on the New York Times list of never written books. I think this is fantastic fiction. I mean, I honestly believe that this is the walk the dog. The reason it says walk the dog is because she's having to tell the mom to walk the dog. The brother's a dog. He has to be led. He has to be put on a leash. He has to be told exactly what to do. And to make the assumption, and I may be wrong here, but to make the assumption that this is a scripted telephone call would mean that she had somehow gotten to him to then say, okay, now let's have this conversation so we can cover that up. I think she's walking the dog here. I just don't think he's that bright. I think that she's literally leading him into it, and he is all in it. He cannot believe she did this. He's the dog, but he's like the golden retriever, you know, the ones that they'll do exactly what you tell them to, but they're not that bright.
Al, you have less than a minute.
Well, first of all, Vin, to hell and back was the Audie Murphy story. My new title for her book is Witless for the Prosecution. Thank you.